Hello and welcome back to the Car Talk podcast, a show where we talk about the latest car news and the latest transportation opinion. My name is Bailey, your host, and today I'm joined by Matty from Matty's Cars, of course. How are you doing, Matty, today?
You okay? Yeah, all good, thanks.
Nice one. And today we are joined by Jack from Doggy Stone Radio. How are you doing, Jack?
Hi there, I'm really well, thanks. How about yourself?
Very good. It's good to have you on, finally.
Got a real life
Nice to be here.
radio presenter.
We have.
God, I don't know about that. I kind of stumbled my way through here, but thank you for having me on.
No problem at all. Would you like to start off with talking about, you, basically, and what you sort of do?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I host a program on Doggy Stone Radio, which is called The Road Show, and essentially it is a motoring program. It's like Top Gear or the Grand Tour if either of one of those shows just had a budget of £0. It's just me rambling on about this and that, mostly, it's all motoring related, but it's a whole mix of sort of the latest car news. We look at some classic cars as well, some sort of automotive advice, and we do also have interviews on. So, of course, funnily enough, we've had both of you on the show before.
Yeah, it's quite weird because you're now on here and we've been interviewed by you. Now we're interviewing you.
The tables have turned.
They have indeed.
We're just giving you a break from being sat at the other side of the desk. I've actually, for any of the viewers and listeners that aren't aware, Jack, I've written out basically your CV here in front of me. So you're a radio presenter, of course. Mention that. That's right. Journalist. And of course, you've been on the telly as well, haven't you? You've been in the same room as I've lost Zoe someone. I forgot.
Zoe Lyons, yeah. I went on a BBC Two quiz show called Lightning. I was on there for 5 days and I won nothing at all. Not one. That's how that went. Honestly, to be fair, that was the only game show, I think, where sort of like not winning was kind of better because that meant that you were on TV for longer.
Yeah,
I suppose it does.
It was great fun to do. And I mean, I went to Belfast for a couple of days, so I got put up in a really nice hotel, so didn't have to pay for that.
Sounds great.
That was my prize. It was a free holiday.
Well, that's great. We'll talk a bit more about you, Jack, later on. But as usual on the show, we like to talk about the latest car news. And there's quite a mix this month around.
Good month.
Would anyone like to start?
I'll start.
Go for Matty.
This is something that's quite interested me, actually, but it's also quite concerning. So what I can gather from this, Ford is basically toying with the fact of displaying adverts on the infotainment screens of their cars. So this is mad. So it's not just sort of like what you get on Facebook or whatever, so cookie-based advertising or random or anything like that. Rather like traffic sign recognition, it will recognise the billboards that you're driving past that you can see anyway and project them onto your car screen. What do we reckon?
Well, at least using that system, you wouldn't ever try to start up your car and it says something like, "This Cougar is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends."
It seems a bit weird to me, doesn't it? It's sort of, I don't know. I guess it does stop you, looking. Oh, look, there's something on the side. Oh no, I've had a crash.
Yeah, this is.
It does. Yeah. It's in your car, and it's kind of.
I don't know. You're still
safe.
taking your eyes off the road, aren't you? This is just too. I mean, it's patented, but I think it's the trials are in America up to now. But the example I've got in front of me here is like hot dog stand and things like that. Like, just imagine an American driving the car down the freeway going, "I got myself a new Ford Fusion. It's told me where the nearest hot dog place is."
What's really funny as well, I don't really see how this can work in the UK because we hardly have billboard adverts anywhere, apart from the M4 on the side of the road, and it's just advertising for, I don't know, ladies' breast milk.
Oh, I have to disagree with you there. There's tons of adverts for billboards everywhere, from ladies' breast milk to everything else, really.
Do you know what the best bit about this is, though, that's just dawned on me, sort of like trying to figure out billboards near me? There is going to be a point if this system gets adopted, there's going to be a point where a Ford driver is driving along the road and all of a sudden on their Ford infotainment system comes an advert for the new Vauxhall Corsa.
Yeah.
It will.
That's a shout, actually.
Yeah, I like to think that there's some AI in there that just sort of detects, it's a car advert and it's not for a Ford. We don't show it.
That's actually what I'm thinking. Like, will it just block out any car adverts or what? I don't know. Or what about save the environment, take the train? Will that be projected onto your Ford screen?
It's a bit odd, I think, but we'll have to see what happens with that.
What about yous? Have you got any good news?
I haven't got good news, but I've got bad news, in fact.
Right.
We'll start off with that and get that out of the way. But my favourite supercar brand is Lamborghini. And they've just announced that from 2024 onwards, their fleet will be made out of plug-in hybrids only. No more V12s, unfortunately. This is why I like building older cars. Yeah, literally. It's really close. We don't really have much info on what cars they're bringing out, but apparently the CEO has announced their first EV will be 4-seat, 2-door GT.
Oh,
I don't know what you think of that.
4 seats. I mean, there's an argument, isn't there, really, where, like, if you look at an old Countach, like, the acceleration on that is nothing compared to something like a BMW i3, but yeah, it's built on the blistering sound from the engine brands like Lamborghini, isn't it? But I don't know.
It's just kind of gone down the drain. But I mean, I'll be interested to see what they produce after this. They said that a 4-seat GT could be interesting. They haven't done that before, so.
That's true. In terms of sort of like a totally new thing for the company, that's quite exciting. But as you say, as Matty said, just the fact that you don't get that noise, that's all like a part of the experience of a supercar. Exactly. It's why you buy one. Now you're just going to get... It's going to sound like a toothbrush.
Yeah. Can't there be like a license where if you're actually good at making engines and you make nice engines and nice sounding engines, that you can... keep your right to produce internal combustion, and I don't know, the likes of bloody Stellantis can just do electric cars. They have to because their engines were crap before, which is an unfair comment, but not as good as Lamborghini, Ferrari, etc.
True.
Yeah. Jack, have you got any car news this week? I mean, month. I always say this week, but...
So right, I most certainly do, and this is one that certainly has got me really excited. It is I don't know. I don't think they're bringing this to production. I think it's just a one-off, but Opel have decided that they wanted to make a modernized, electrified version of their classic Manta, and the Manta, of course, was their kind of coupe thing. So we've now got this whole, array of images of this fantastic looking bright yellow 1970s car, like classic I say Vauxhall, it was an Opel, all same thing, with this brand new front end that's sort of like a part of really a part of all of the range now. It's their sort of front end for the 2020s.
Yeah. And
it looks incredible.
I fell in love with this as soon as I saw it, and I know I'm not really a fan of electric cars, but I'm really a big fan of when people modernize older vehicles or make older vehicles electric. I think that's a great idea instead of making them really stupid looking, which we'll get onto later about other cars. But I had a lot of things.
I'm with you there. I like it when they say I'm going to just make a electric car and it's just going to look absolutely ridiculous. Instead, when they've something like the Renault 4 or whatever, the Renault 5 that they're bringing out, and it actually looks like the old Renault 5, but it's electric. It's a lot more.
That was nice.
I genuinely love that because I don't know about you, but I think we're going into this fantastic looking era in which we've got all of these new electric cars. And okay, fine, as you say, electric is not great because you sort of do lose something, but they look as if they're from the 70s. You've got you've got the Renault 5, as you say, the Honda E, which I've yet to see one out and about, but I've seen many photos of them.
I've seen quite a few. They're quite nice.
Have you?
Yeah.
They look it. I mean, I'm just clearly not leaving the house enough to not see one, but they look just like an original Mark 1 Civic. They're brilliant.
Yeah. One positive is that we're getting this whole sort of segment of like retro new stuff, and it's great. I love the squared front end on the going back to the Manta, and there's a steering wheel there, a little three spoke steering wheel, looks proper retro. Not a single button on it, just holes. It looks great.
And I think it looks like, I wrote this down the other day when I was writing this, but I wrote down the front looks like the old Chevy Camaro a little bit. Yes. You know what I mean? That sort of like boxy front. And the back, if you look at the back, it looks like the 70s Charger, which I think is just a brilliant combination of two cars from the old, 60s and 70s. It's just excellent.
That's so true. And also, and this is something which I don't quite know why they've done this, but I'm really pleased that they have done.
Yeah.
Even though it's an electric car, they've kept the manual gearbox.
Oh, I know. I was so happy about this.
Yes, it's got a 4-speed manual transmission, and you don't have to use it if you don't want to. It's just there if you want to just add to the driving experience. How cool is that?
I was saying that someone needs to engineer a manual gearbox into electric cars.
And this is actually quite a simple, like how it works. It's sort of, it basically electronically sort of, slows the revs or the amount of power output in each gear. So it feels like you're getting more power. If you go in a lower gear, you'll get all the power. And if you go in a higher gear, it's sort of, using less electricity. And it's quite clever, actually, I think.
This has actually really excited me. Like, I haven't even looked at the specs. But I think what we should have... I think Ford should pull their finger out and make an electric version of the Capri that looks like the old Capri.
Awesome.
That would be so cool.
This has got 145 brake horsepower, 150 actually, if you round it up, and 188 torque, which is actually more than enough because it's probably not going to weigh very much. If you look at it, it looks like it doesn't weigh much.
Yeah, they have to.
That's true.
Oh, that's the thing. That's the only downside. It is a one-off.
So, is it? Is it not just a concept, or
it's a one-off thing? But I mean, it's kind of a little bit pissed me off a little bit because they make such a cool-looking electric car that actually a petrol head would be interested in buying, and then they go and put we'll only make one of them.
And then they try to sell you the Mocha.
Oh, please don't get me started.
Oh God,
the Adam, the Viva, the Mocha, the Mariva, all. Well, they've all gone, but they're all crap. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, there we go. We now just need to start a petition to actually badger Opal into making this and just cancelling all of their other cars. We just want this Manta.
Have you two heard of Dakar racing? I'm sure you have.
I believe I have. Yes.
You haven't heard of Dakar racing, Matthew?
I know nothing about cars, as we know.
Yes, we do. Or Dakar racing is, it's kind of like an extreme version of rally driving, and they drive sort of across deserts and vast terrain sort of thing. And it's like a big race over, I think it's about a week, I'm not sure, but they have to live with the car, and they have to, if something goes wrong, they have to mend it on the go, and it's like this massive race. But anyway, they're trialling at the moment, I think it's called Extreme E, which basically means they're making the Dakars electric, which in a way I don't think I'm going to mind because they still have just as good a performance as all the diesel cars that they originally had, and if anything it's already more exciting than Formula E, which is just a load of cars going around a track with no one overtaking and rules. But this is actually a bit more interesting to watch because there's they turn it over dunes and they've got perilous cliffs and all sorts. So that's just some news there.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because I, a couple of weeks ago, did a segment on Extreme E and just sort of how the first event went, because the great thing about Extreme E is it's all kind of based around showing you the effects of climate change in a way that isn't really that preachy. So the first one was in a desert somewhere, where it was kind of escaped.
Saudi Arabia, wasn't it?
Saudi Arabia, that was it. Yeah. And it, as you say, it was really entertaining to watch. And I'm not like this in the same way that, like, how there are Americans that they go to the Indy 500 just to see the crashes. Yeah. But there were a few crashes, and thankfully no one did get seriously hurt. But you got to say, spectacular to watch.
I mean, they're bloody safe, those cars anyway. So
they are safe, and they're very powerful as well.
Yeah. Have you got anything else, Matty, would you like to mention? I've got a few more things, but...
Well, I think me and Jack will go Dutch on this headline here because we've both got this. It's the new 2022 Dacia SUV, large SUV that they're well, I'm sure they will release it. I don't know about you, Jack, but the only problem I've got with this is the name.
Yes, the name.
I'll let you do the honours.
To be fair there, like the entirety of the Dacia range has... Who is coming up with the names for Dacia, Dacia, call them what you will? Because
James May.
Thought that,
Dacia.
James May. Because I can remember when they first came out in 2013 and think, just laughing myself silly that there was a car called the Duster. Why would you call a car the Duster? They used to also have a Dacia Denim, but this one is called the Bigster. Why? Because it is slightly bigger than the Duster.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It just looks like a slightly bigger, more sculpted version of the Duster, doesn't it? But
it does. I mean, I don't dislike it. I mean, styling-wise, I think it looks quite upmarket.
Yeah, it does. It's quite fit in with a lot of the the sort of Volkswagen and the Audis alongside it, I think.
Yeah, I like Dacias, and I admire manufacturers that actually pick names rather than number and letter formations for their cars. But Bigster, it sounds a little bit goofy to me. It almost sounds like a character from the Rugrats or someone like something like that. Like just a really goofy sort of weird. No, I mean Skoda Roomster. Yeah, you can get away with, but Bigster sounds a little bit cringe to me.
It's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah.
They peaked with Sandero, to be fair. They couldn't get any better than Sandero.
No.
They knew it was downhill, so then they just stopped trying, clearly.
The Logi.
The Logi! I forgot about the Logi. I remember sometimes, like, if I was on holiday, I'd see those and think, why? I mean, I'm sorry if you guys get any kind of, like, particularly colourful emails from Dacia PR after this, but...
we don't get any emails at all.
I've tried to get in touch with them but you can't get in touch with them.
Oh, that's a shame.
I would like to talk about the new Hyundai Ioniq 5, I think it's called. I don't know how I fucking say that, but
Yes.
It's apparently, well, according to some people, the best looking EV of the year.
It's not.
But it isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look too bad, let's be honest, but there's something about it, it's a bit strange. I mean, the interior is, well, it's quite basic and boring, very reminiscent of the Renault Zoe, a car that driven by my ex-girlfriend, so, shows the taste there. Yeah, I'm not that excited about it, to be honest. My opinion's willing to change, though, until I sit on the road, but what do you guys think of that?
It reminds me of something, but I don't know what it is. It's just car.
Yeah. It reminds me, the back end reminds me of something, and I'd done a bit of Googling before. So I Googled Allegro and Maestro and just square British. It does remind me of something. If there's
Is it a Rover, do you think, maybe?
Something old 70s British, it looks like a little bit like that. But, I mean, if it's got one save, I don't like it. For starters,
no, I don't like it.
I don't like the way it looks. But if it's got one saving grace, it's that the old Ioniq, the one we've got now. It's that the design of that. It's like proper textbook hybrid, copying off the Toyota Prius, and like a long flat sort of car. I like the way they've tried to make it look a little bit more like a car. But I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just got absolutely nothing about it, has it?
No, it's like I said, interior is really sort of a bit boring. It's kind of like a screen and then some seats. That's it. There's not even a center console. If you look, it's just like an armrest for the elderly people that might be driving it. But it's a bit boring.
It looks very small as well, doesn't it? I don't think that'll be a hit with the taxi drivers and all the people who have bought them.
And there's some really bad news. I'm looking right now at the second photo in the link that you sent, and I don't know if Hyundai noticed this, but clearly, I don't know, they must have scanned the photo or something, because going sort of diagonally across the side of the car, there seems to be a crease in the photo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that. It's actually,
looks like it's been hit with a forklift truck carrying a big piece of wood on it.
Someone's keyed it.
My concern is the rims. Why did they make the rims look like a black hole? Just get sucked in.
Oh God, yes.
It's like, oh no, it's Interstellar all over again, and I just get a new set of rims now. They've swallowed my own rims.
They look like they were fitted to something on Pimp My Ride back in 2005.
Oh God, yeah. I remember watching that as a kid and I thought that's really cool, and then I've grown up and realised those poor people have got to live with them cars every single day.
And they never did any engine modifications either, so they just added tons of weight.
Yeah.
Nice.
Stuck a telly in the back of a Vauxhall Nova and said, there you go.
That's the Hyundai IQ Ioniq 5 or whatever it's called there. So, yeah. Anything else, guys? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yes, big news. This week we've got the new 2023 smart SUV to rival the Mini Clubman.
Oh, right.
Oh.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I thought you were going to say you're not interested, because I'm not.
I'm not, but I'm a bit curious as well, because it's like, smart cars are the complete opposite of an SUV, and they've decided to go, right, let's make a Countryman rip-off. Yeah, well,
what's got me is that it's supposed to, smart. It's supposed to be smart. Smart are supposed to be smart. There's nothing smart about it. It's an SUV, their first SUV that they've brought to market only 11 years too late. It should be... If this isn't called the Smart Late, I will be annoyed.
The Smart Late.
I feel like it should be called, looking at the photo of it, I think they should call it the Fisher-Price My First Tesla. Because it genuinely does kind of look like a Tesla Model X and a Tesla Model 3 were very much so in love, and about 9 months later, this happened.
Well, my question to you, Matty, is, I don't know if you want to know the answer to this, but is it going to be a Mercedes, pretty much, underneath? Is it going to have an electric engine from Mercedes, do you think? Or is it going to be a completely different, engine or whatever it is, going to be battery or whatever?
Well, it's definitely going to have little in common with the 4.2 and the 4.4, which I'm just reading out loud now because I don't know. But I don't know. We might have to edit this out and pretend we know and just read it out in a minute.
No, I'm going to keep that in.
Oh, God.
But we can move on anyway.
I can't find what... We're not interested anyway.
No, we're not interested. Jack, have you got anything else?
I'm just having a look. There's one other thing that I did kind of want to talk about, and it is about the 2022 Hummer. Now, of course, Hummer haven't really been around for a while because after, I think it was it the 2008 sort of massive, economy crisis thing, they essentially found out that no one, even in America, was willing to spend tons and tons of money on a big, heavy, thirsty thing. But they are back now with a new electric car, which is coming in the 2022 model year. The Hummer EV, and apparently, found out this week, it weighs 9,046 pounds or 4.5 tons.
Bloody hell. That's like a truck. That's a proper, lorry.
To put that into perspective, someone worked out that essentially is the same as 4 Mazda MX-5s.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Wow. I mean, I do quite look of it. It's, you can quite instantly recognise it as a Hummer, but without being too, modern like all the other cars are. It's like, oh, what's that again? Oh, it's a Honda Jazz. No, it doesn't look anything like it, but that actually looks like a Hummer, which is I quite like.
Who owns Hummer these days?
GMC.
General Motors.
They still...
GMC, yes.
GMC own them, okay. Oh.
No, General Motors did own them. Then, obviously.
General Motors is GMC, isn't it?
So is how much we know about cars.
We're just making it up on the fly. Let's just say it is.
Very short podcast. We'll have to edit out everything that we've got wrong.
GMC.
GMC?
Let's just say with that.
I thought it was just GM. What's GMC? Is it the same?
I'm not sure. It says, I'm looking at the sort of article that I found about this earlier on, and it mentions here GMC, but I'll quickly read ahead and see if it mentions that GMC is, because I always thought it was General Motors Corporation.
Might be then. I reckon we're right.
Oh, I've googled GMC. It says the General Medical Council.
There you go. The General Medical Council Hummer EV. It's good for the good for the environment. You can breathe it in. But the other thing about this, though, and I don't know. I feel like they're just making it up as they kind of go along with at GMC or General Motors. Apparently, this Hummer EV will offer you, and I didn't even know this is just unfeasibly large, 11,500 pound-feet of torque.
Wow. Oh, sick. Wow,
what is heavy in what necessarily do you need to tow before that is like what I'm pretty sure they've just put wheels on a tugboat.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally it's because they want to try and push the car to be as quick as the Teslas.
Is it going to be like
yeah, that's true.
Hummers of old where it's quick or whatever, but it gets like 1 mile to the gallon or 1 mile of electric range before you need to
well, it says actually on here, I just read it, says 350 miles of range, which is pretty cool.
That would be if they can do that.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Them saying that. I mean, how much does that cost, Jack? Do you know?
I'm not actually sure if we've got any prices yet because, as I said, it's sort of like it's meant to be for like, well, saying that 2022 model year, sort of over in America, they always have like the 2022 cars out by like September 21, so it might be coming soon. Yeah. But I don't know.
Same here, isn't it? I think.
No.
Was it over here as well?
No.
How many of those do they think they're going to sell?
Oh, is it coming over here?
I don't know.
Should we just move on before we get any more
I think we better move on. Essentially, the moral of the story here is I'm not entirely sure what the price is.
Yeah, it's a Hummer on drugs from the General Medical Council, the GMC.
Anyway, I'd like to talk about the new Mercedes S-Class, which is the same as the last one, but just like to bring it up a little bit because they're keeping with the petrol engine, but they're also sort of adding with the S500 model, which is not the top range, but it is near the top range. They've got a mild hybrid with that, so it's 429 brake horsepower with 22 horsepower electric motor, which is cool. So it's hybrid. That's kind of it, and they've obviously got like sort of the diesels they're making the 4MATICs, They got the V8 one, which is also a mild hybrid.
I've seen the video actually that on CarWow a good few months ago, and I got a little look at this, and it just never fails to disappoint, does it? The S-Class is just brilliant.
It's great. It's a great car, but I mean, they haven't really done much in terms of styling, anything new. But I think the styling was already pretty good for the S-Class, so. Fair play.
Yeah, it's evolutionary rather than revolutionary, isn't it? I mean, It just like by now you look at that design and it just still oozes class. It just, especially looking at the interior looks gorgeous
with that sort of brown leather. It's lovely,
and just the plethora of touchscreens.
I mean, I'm not a massive fan of touchscreens, but it's quite cool. You could probably watch a whole entire movie there, but.
You can look at adverts now. Ford out the way.
Yeah, the Ford adverts. They'll go on the Mercedes. That's perfect. Yeah, excellent. Well, we sorted that out for them. Have you got anything else, guys? I've got one more thing, but it's more of a discussion point. But
yeah, I think I'm all out of headlines for now. So if you want to discuss,
Jack, have you got anything?
I think I'm good. I think we've covered everything that I found at least. So yeah, why not? Let's get on to this heated debate, shall we say?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a debate, but I've just basically sort of brought it up because only because I'm a fan. The other day I was on my Facebook group, which is the Mazda Mark 1 Owners Club. I know how sad that is, but someone reposted a concept photo of a Mazda MX-5 NE, which would come out in 2023 and would be electric. And obviously that kind of ties in with the NE, the name, so electric. Because the previous one was the ND, so they sort of go alphabetically. What do you guys think of this? Personally, I don't know if I would buy one unless it's a manual, because the whole point of an MX-5 for me is the gear change. That's one of the best things, if not the best thing about the car. But I mean, just have a discussion really about what you guys think about that, because it's still going to be a convertible sports car, but
you haven't sent me the link. What do I Google? Mazda.
There's literally, it was just a picture on the internet which I saw, but I couldn't have time to save it. It was just like there was a few different photos of what it would look like, but it's more just sort of a thought for now.
Thinking about it, just the sense that an MX-5 in essence is just a small, compact and incredibly lightweight sports car. And actually, okay, fine, the batteries will weigh it down quite a bit, but really as a basis, I could see that working.
It could work, yeah.
Okay, fine. Sort of going back to what we were saying about supercars, you lose a bit of the appeal when you actually get rid of the engine and the noise it makes and all of that kind of stuff. But I can see the logic behind that.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously Mazda with their cars, they try and get 50-50 weight distribution, but I don't know how that's going to work with the battery. They might have to put it in the centre, but then that might mean that centre of gravity is a bit higher or lower. I'm not sure. It depends, but I've just found a picture of it, which I'll add to the chat.
Oh, good. I haven't looked at it yet. I can't
see if that works.
Find it.
It's what it would probably look like.
M-E spelled
that one.
Me.
No, N-E, so N.
Oh,
so
N-E.
like,
Oh, we said M-E.
Not me, not Mazda MX-5
Everything
me.
you need to know about. Oh, right. Sound.
I'm not keen on that grille.
No, but there's also this picture, which is apparently completely different, but this is literally just what people were sending in the chat, so...
Oh, wow.
It'd be interesting. That one's alright.
Yeah, I'd go for that.
Looks like an old TVR.
Yeah, that looks pretty much like a redesigned of an ND, which they've just made. So, I mean, it could work, but...
Hang on, this was posted July 2004.
Is it?
Sorry.
Really? No, I can't be right. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of it.
Still, if they could get one that's designed to look like that, I would still get one.
Yeah. It's not the looks that I don't agree with. It's like the whole idea of the car being electric. What's so funny?
So you've sent us pictures of an 18-year-old Mazda MX-5 concept.
Oh, real have I? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the wrong thing.
Okay.
Can I save this image? Bear with us a second. Because I just realised where that link's taken me. It's taken to like a forum. And I didn't even mean to
that's
do that.
right. Yeah. So it just... I was thinking, God, that's really out there for like the design of a new sort of like MX-5.
Oh, hang on. I'm completely wrong. So it was posted 2019 and the guy joined in 2004.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
To be fair, I was thinking for an 18-year-old design, even if it was a prototype, that's just it holds up.
This is the picture I meant.
Aha.
In the chat. There you go.
Oh, okay.
So that's a concept.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay.
I like that.
I prefer that to the first one because the grill's nicer in it.
And it's not too out there. It's quite subtle. But I can imagine, like, being so lightweight. Could you imagine the acceleration with it? Yeah,
that's one good thing probably about it. I mean, that you can buy automatic MX-5s, but nobody does because, you know, it's like it just ruins the whole point of it. Yeah. But that's it, really. That's pretty much all the car news this month.
So we've got some questions for our guest, have we? Or
yes, we do. Yes, we would like to talk about you, Jack. Now, let's focus on the sort of last bit of the podcast. Talk about what you do, what sort of things you like, a bit more into detail. Matty, do you want to go ahead then? If you've got some questions for Jack.
Well, yeah, I've got some more sort of deeper questions, not that deep, but deeper questions later on. But my first one is just a nice sort of basic one, which was what got you into cars?
What got me into cars? That's one of those things. I feel like I've almost always been into cars. And I think my biggest inspiration, like getting into that, was my granddad, or still is my granddad, because he used to be a college lecturer teaching motor vehicle. And as well as that, he's always been, well, I say always, sorry, I'll start again. He's also been for a really, really long time a massive fan of Citroens. So growing up, on their driveway was a Citroen CX Safari, and the Safari one was essentially kind of like a massive estate car.
Yeah, I've seen that. Oh my God.
And it was just, I'd always sort of ask him if we could like do it up and that sort of thing. It never really got done, sadly. But yeah, that's really where I kind of started. And I can still remember, and this, you are going to ridicule me for this, and you have every right to. I can still remember back when I was about 5 years old, getting really, really excited because my mum had bought a Citroen Zara Picasso. A silver Zara Picasso 1.6 HDI, and I can remember the day that we got it and first seeing it and actually being quite excited about it because it was like the first new car I'd really kind of like seen. It lasted, we had that thing until like last year, so it's still going around somewhere.
That's cool.
Well, listen, I've got a thing about the Zara Picasso because not only have I always liked them and I still like them now, nice design for an MPV. When I was looking at car insurance and I was like, right, I can't have this, can't have that, I'm going to buy a Saxo. And then I just sort of remembered the Zara Picasso and I was like, oh, they used to be everywhere and they're still quite popular, but I thought, I wonder how much one of them is to insure. So I looked and it was like only a couple of £100 more a year to insure than me Saxo. Well, than a Saxo. I didn't have me Saxo at the time. So then I had this like big vision of having this Picasso and being able to just go on camping trips with me mates and just throw all stuff in the back and just not care. And I think someone like me dad or someone turned around to me and ended up saying, Matthew, you can't have a car like that as your first car. Nobody is going to go near you. So that was that.
As I think as much kind of like ridicule as the Zara Picasso gets, it was a brilliant, brilliant car. I mean, as you say, you had so much space in that thing. The seats were brilliant. Always sort of like if you were going on holiday and you'd be traveling to the airport, so like quite a long way.
Yeah.
Always bring the Zara Picasso with you just because the seats like really, really comfy. Okay, fine. The styling, especially in silver, it kind of looked like a baked potato with like tinfoil in it, but it wasn't bad. It was a good car.
So, is your granddad still driving now? And does he have his Safari still, or is that gone?
Yes. Well, A, he is still driving now, yeah, and B, we do still have the CX, but as said, we haven't really been able to sort of get around to doing it up. I don't quite know when any of us would have the time to do that. So his main car, well, I should probably say, rather than say his main car, my main car is also a Citroen. It's a Citroen C1, which, it's not the most interesting. Yeah, they're good cars. They're not the most interesting cars in the world, but I've got to say, if you're a if you are sort of a first-time driver, if you've just passed your driving test and you're looking for something cheap, low insurance cost, really, really economical, get a C1 because they are brilliant little cars.
Well, that was actually my next question. What do you drive? But
sorry,
I could just no, it's fine. It's great. But my next question after that is, well, what is your favourite car or top 5? And I know you asked me this question on my interview with you, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to know what yours is.
I'm pretty sure, given sort of what we've been talking about for the past 5 or so minutes, you've probably already worked out what the brand of the car, what my favourite car is. And yes, you are absolutely correct. It is the Citroen 2CV.
A car which... Cool.
Our Lord and Saviour, Mr. Clarkson, said he got onto Top Gear because he did a 20-minute video on everything that he hates about it.
It's still up there, so...
Yeah, I like it because, I mean, if you don't know really about the 2CV, it was designed in the 1930s, right before the Second World War, as a car that French peasants and French farmers could afford to essentially take them out of horses and carts and get them into something that was at least from kind of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And over time, because it was so cheap at first, they kept selling them. And then because of that, it got a bit of a cult following over in France. And then that kind of spread across all over the world. And they kept them in production until 1990, which is incredible for a car sort of designed at that time.
Unbelievable. You wouldn't get away with that now either, would you? A production spanning that long with the safety and everything like that. But
could you imagine the Euro NCAP test on that?
Well, that's what I was going to say. You can literally, I don't know if you know this, Bailey, you can literally take a 2CV apart with, like, you can take the doors off. You just have to lift them off and a little, like, it's in just a little hinge, and you just lift the doors off. You can take the bonnet off and the bonnet will bend you, like a whiteboard that you had in school, you just bend and wave. It's absolutely mad.
One of the really cool things about the 2CV, and this was something that they advertised in brochures and this kind of stuff, that the seats, I don't know if the front seats were like this, but certainly for the rear kind of like bench seats, that can just, like, as you say, detach, no tools needed or anything. So you could take it out of the car, not necessarily just if you wanted a bulky load, but just in case you wanted to go on a picnic somewhere, you've got yourself a nice little bench.
Oh, right, that's cool. I don't really know much about 2CV apart from when Hammond destroyed it on the airfield with that.
Oh, I remember that one. That was a nice one as well. That was my favourite colour one, bamboo green.
Yeah.
I've got is it my question or is it my question?
Yeah, it's your question. Go for it, Matty. Yeah.
Well, obviously I know you like Citroens, Jack, but this is really a question for both of you. This car has seemed to have escaped our news segments since we've started the podcast, and I don't know why. But what do you all both think about the Citroen Ami?
Good question. Now, funnily enough, when I was sort of looking at news stories to talk about, I was so close to mentioning the Citroen Ami van, which is a new version that they're doing of it. And essentially, they're calling it a van. Really, they've just removed the passenger seat for some extra space. But
I was going to say, because it's not very vanny, is it?
It's not vanny at all. But I like it. I think really going back to sort of the 2CV, I think it's trying to achieve the same thing as bringing really affordable transportation to everyone. I mean, it's a quadricycle rather than a car, so it's limited to a top speed of 28 miles an hour. Whether or not you'll be able to kind of like chip it, then make it go a bit faster. But I like it. I think it's quite fun. I'd love to have like a test drive in one.
I think it's good. Well, yeah, like when it came out and all, like even like people as sort of down to earth as say Ian Seabrook from Hubnut, who's only got like a few subscribers, well loads, but a few. He got a one from the press fleet, and I was like, I wonder what the chances are of me ringing them up and seeing if I could get one on my little YouTube channel and just blag it and just see. But I'd really love to drive one.
Why not? I mean, I'd go for it. I mean, that's actually how Hubnut started. He actually approached Nissan about the original Nissan Leaf, and they said, yeah, sure, you can test drive one. And that was the video that got him noticed. So do it.
Yeah. He was already a journalist before, but I don't know. I guess you could, yeah.
Well, yeah, my next question, Jack, would be, how did you sort of start this radio show then? What made you start? And what was your sort of initial feeling about it, like when you started it?
Okay, well, the roadshow started, essentially, a lot of people kept on saying to me that I've got a sort of voice for radio, and I didn't really believe them. I still don't really. I think really I've got a face for radio. I'm not used to being filmed, by the way. This is a whole new experience to me. But it essentially started because someone that I went to school with, his dad actually runs an online radio station called Dacha Bigster Radio, and he'd seen the posts that I was putting onto Instagram, because at the time, just sort of, to pass the time, whenever I'd see sort of like a classic car, I'd take a photo of it, post it to Instagram, and kind of write about its history in the little description bit.
Yeah,
cool.
And the whole idea of it was to essentially make a radio show out of what I was essentially those little write-ups. So it started in, I think, September of 2019, and it was literally just a segment on, I think, the business show on like a Monday at 2:00 in the afternoon. No, it was, I think it was 2:00 in the afternoon. But sort of as we kept on expanding, expanding. We soon got to sort of like an hour-long program on its own each week, and from there on in, it got to sort of like how it is now, really, with the segments and interviews and that sort of stuff. And it's kind of just been snowballing since then. But it's very much so something that I do where I'm learning as I go along. I love doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we're all learning as we go along for most of our lives. But I mean, I think I've asked you this question before, Jack, but remind me again how many sort of listens you get on that.
Now, that actually depends. I don't actually know for the road show. And I mean, we don't, if I'm being honest with you, we don't get sort of like national radio station like Capital FM kind of figures. But what we do get is quite a loyal fan base. And I mean, I often will use Instagram as a great platform for kind of like promoting stuff and also actually engaging with listeners. Every now and then I will do some sort of like poll thing on there, find out what people want to hear about sort of classic car history wise, stuff like that. So sadly, I've kind of just rambled on rather than giving you an answer, a solid figure there. But
well, listen, no, I think it's great because I'm happy that Bailey brought up the radio thing, because that sort of comes on to my question, which as well as you were saying as well, that it's a lot of great TV shows actually start from radio shows and even radio segments. So you know, you never know where it's gonna go. And basically, my question was, what are your sort of tips for anyone who's maybe listening, who will be listening to the preview on Instagram for sort of getting into radio and media and things like that? Obviously, you've already explained, but
wow. I'm the sort of person that mostly just takes tips from other people and actually gives tips.
Well,
but
I think we're all
one thing I would say. Oh my God, yeah. That is actually, you know what, we'll run with that. Just wing it. Do what you want to do. Say what you want to say. Write about what you want to write about. Yeah. Honestly.
If you enjoy it, you will do better and you'll do well.
Exactly. And sort of doing the road show got me through lockdown and talking to, like, meeting people like you two. I mean, as far as interviews go and stuff like that, it was amazing. Just I was not expecting people to actually say, I'll be happy to do that.
You're reading me mind here, because as well as us two pillocks being on your show, you've had quite a few good little guests on there, haven't you? And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit surprised. I was like, oh my God, look who he's got on this week. That's Boss. So just run through maybe your top 3 sort of guests that you've had on from the automotive world.
Well, if we're doing top 3 guests, because I'm on your show and you've invited me on, obviously I've got to say either the 1 or 2 spot, and it's a joint number 1 because I'm diplomatic like that. But to just list a few sort of people that we've had guests on the roadshow, the second interview I did was, I don't quite know how I managed this, but really, really nice guy. Guy called James Walsh from Practical Classics. He, I believe, is the deputy editor for the magazine. Yeah. And we had a conversation with him. I had a conversation with him that was so long that we actually had to play it on 2 different shows. We had to have a part 1 and a part 2 for that. But as well as that, we've had, I don't know if you know about this YouTuber, there's a guy called Big Car. Well, actually, his name's Andy, but his channel's called Big Car. And again, he just sort of looks at the history of particular kind of classic cars, and
you'd
he
like
does it
him,
in
Bailey.
some fantastic detail.
Would I?
You would like him. But most recently, someone that we've had on the roadshow is someone that I really, really wanted to talk to for so many years, and it is Chris Goffey, who was one of the hosts of the original Top Gear in the 1980s and 90s. He did other things as well. He did Autocar, and he did a series on ITV back in the 70s called Drive In. But yeah, really, really nice guy as well. Real chatty, plenty of funny stories. Yeah, he was saying about how he once, on the launch of the Austin Maestro, on the launch day, he was sort of like, I can't remember where, he mentioned sort of, I think it was somewhere in the Mediterranean. He was kind of like invited, free trip down there to test drive this new car. And he hit it on some sort of like oil that was like an oil slick, actually managed to roll the car over. And as he was hanging from the seatbelts of this thing, all of a sudden, because of course the Maestro was the first car to have a talking dashboard, it went, low oil pressure.
I didn't know you had him on. To be
wow.
honest, I'll have to listen
That's
to that
brilliant.
because I quite enjoy it, watching any old Top Gear segments. I've seen his bits where
Old
he's
Top
like,
Gear is the best.
where he's like,
Yeah.
the steering could be a little bit better, and just speaks like very posh and formal, and you know, things like you can't get your umbrella lengthways and things like that. It's just brilliant. I love it.
And Matty, is that where you sort of get your inspiration, Matty, from that sort of thing? Because when with your what's it called, Full Throttle like series, it really reminds you of like an 80s Top Gear sort of thing. As I was always wondered if you got inspiration from that.
Oh, kind of. It was weird, the Full Throttle Buster Cherry thing. Like, it was the Ford Puma one I done. That was a college project, but we had to sort of develop a character sort of thing, and like people just said, why don't you do just this, like, really, if you're doing a car review, do this like really sort of guy who just says innuendo after innuendo. But obviously you can't just do that. You've got to have a little bit more substance to it. So I guess so. I think we tried to set the Ford Puma review like in 19 whatever it was when it first came out, but it didn't really, go that way because of, just modern cars in the background and that. But yeah, I guess so. It was just supposed to be slightly sort of, where today you'd go, oh, that's irrelevant, but back then it was quite an important thing,
Yeah. And Jack, I never asked actually. Do you have a YouTube channel? I forgot to ask.
Essentially the YouTube thing right now, I really have been meaning for a while now to get into that, because for a while I was posting sort of like the big interviews that we'd have on the road show to sort of like a YouTube channel, just because you want to utilize as many platforms as you can for this sort of thing. The only problem was I didn't really dedicate enough time into it. So sort of like you get these kind of interviews with, as I said, like really cool people in the automotive world, but you need to sort of like do search engine and optimization and stuff like that. You need to make sure that you've got the right tags. You need to do all of that kind of stuff if you want to make sure that it reaches people and people actually are interested in it. So certainly something I'll be looking into.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. And like, if I was to give a tip with YouTube, I mean, Matty, you probably would agree as well. It's consistency, and it's you want to upload as much as possible. That way, you get more videos out there for more people to see, and then naturally you get more views and subscribers and stuff. But YouTube now is quite tricky anyway because of how many people are on the platform.
Yeah.
But
it is consistency. I mean, me and Bailey, we both struggle with it because the Grand Teen's a very high production thing. Bailey's got
oh god, I can imagine.
Got things on. I'm absolutely chocker all the time at work, so I don't upload as much as I should do, really, just for the benefit of the channel. But what's really like frustrating for me is that there's so many people like yourself, Jack, who actually, Instagram was quite a big thing for me, because when I first made my Instagram account for my YouTube channel, I discovered all of these people like yourself that should be YouTubers but aren't. So bear it in mind,
Definitely, yeah. But I mean, as you just said, with Instagram, especially all social media, really, it really has given us all kind of like a platform and a community of car enthusiasts, and being able to kind of like share ideas. Indeed, you can come on my show, I can come on your show, that kind of thing. It's brilliant, actually.
Yeah, we're sort of gegging into the community a bit, aren't we, Bailey? We've had Jack on.
Yeah.
We've had Daniel Achterhouse was a big one. I was quite glad to get him. Because, mark my words, he'll be a celebrity in a few years' time.
Yeah,
he knows his stuff.
He does.
He definitely. I was watching that earlier on today, funnily enough, sort of in preparation for this, and very, very knowledgeable guy.
Yeah, and I can't believe he's like, 5 years younger than me. It's quite crazy, but well done to him. He's obviously
definitely
really
He's so good that we're talking about him on a podcast that he's not on while we're trying to interview someone else. Just very, very quickly, any plans for the future? What's the future goals looking like, Jack? And if you want to edit this out, Bailey, whatever, an hour.
That's a good question.
No, well, I mean, sort of after that pep talk, I really do need to get into YouTube now. But so as well as that, really, I don't know if there's been any major plans. Now that there are plenty of classic car shows going on, especially kind of in the summer now that they're allowed to happen again, I'll certainly do my best to be reporting from all of those on the road show. I've certainly got a few in mind that I'd really like to go to, one of which is the British Leyland show or BMC show at Gaydon, the sort of motor museum near Warwick, kind of in Warwickshire, which is very near to me. Certainly looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll sort of do as many as I can as far as classic car shows go. So you never know, if you are at one of these shows, you may well bump into me. You won't know who I am, but...
Are you going to Goodwood, Jack? That's the question.
Goodwood. Now, I did look into that. Certainly regarding stuff like that, I'm certainly going to Silverstone Classic. And I'm certainly going to Retro Car Fest, which is at Bicester Heritage. And actually, talking of Bicester, there's a couple of things other than that I'm also going to. They sort of do things called Sunday Scrambles, which are essentially like classic car shows. And as well as that, I've also got a driving experience with 80s hot hatches. Cool. So you can choose like 3 80s hot hatches. I did one last year for classic cars, and I drove a Lotus Cortina and a Ford Escort RS 1600.
Wow. Oh, wow, that's cool.
That Lotus Cortina in particular was amazing, but that's one of the kind of things that I talked about on my show, and I'll certainly be talking about the hot hatches that I drive as well. So, in short, plenty planned for the future, so long as I can get out and about, and I'm sure I will be able to.
Brilliant.
Well, Jack, it's been a pleasure having you on. Really has. Really interesting to hear about, well, you basically and what you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, not a problem at all. It's been great, hasn't it, Matty?
I think it's been a really decent conversation tonight. Actually, I'm quite proud.
Yeah,
I've had fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, the car news in particular was very interesting as well. And yeah, that's kind of it. So, Matty, do you want to sort of plug in your social media as we usually do at the end? Yeah,
so if you like what you see or what you hear, you can see my YouTube channel, Matty's Cars, on YouTube. If you just want to follow my Instagram, then it's Matty's Cars YT. And that's me. Hand you over to Bailey or Jack, whoever.
Jack, do you want to talk about your Instagrams?
Actually, yeah, if I could.
Well,
the radio show is, as I said, on Dougie Stone Radio. And so, I mean, obviously, with it being an online station, you can listen to it wherever you are in the world. But it is Sunday, British time, 12 noon. And if you, for whatever reason, if you miss a show, then you can also catch them over on SoundCloud. If you look for Dougie Stone Radio, you'll find a playlist there, and you'll be able to find pretty much all of the road shows since we started. I think there's something absolutely horrific, like you'd be spending several days of just pure road show, and that's just a horrifying thought. Don't listen to them all at once. But it's certainly, if you do want to listen to, say, the latest ones, or maybe the Chris Goffey interview, or even the interviews with Bailey and Matty, then do check them out because they're all up there.
And a YouTube channel is pending for you.
YouTube channel pending. I believe it will be Dougie Stone, or the Roadshow Dougie Stone Radio, or D Stone Roadshow is another one that I use. But if you do listen to the Roadshow, I will tell you when I get that set up.
Nice. And you have Instagram, don't you, Jack? So is it the...
Yeah.
You got 3 accounts or something like that, haven't you?
I've got 3 accounts, yeah. For the Roadshow, the main one is D Stone Roadshow. So the letter D, Stone Road Show. And my own kind of like personal one for all of my kind of radio or motoring journalism kind of related stuff is Jack Mortimer Journalism. So that's all one word, Jack Mortimer Journalism.
Excellent. Of course, follow us on the Grand Teen, which this video and podcast will be uploaded to. And follow us on Instagram at the Grand Teen and Twitter at the Grand Teen, because we've now got a Twitter account. Yay! Even though nobody uses Twitter, and I don't either. But if you want to follow us on there, then please do. That's it for now. Thank you guys for coming on, specifically Jack.
Thank you.
Been great having you as usual. And we'll see you next month. Stay safe, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.